In ITE 140, financial functions are some of the most important functions that you'll learn to use in the class. Financial functions are used by accountants and banking and finance professionals, and of course by anyone who really needs to borrow or save money. So, we're going to take a look at the payment function first. The payment function is used to help you calculate what a monthly payment would be on a loan. Either for maybe a car or for a house. And to be able to use the payment function properly, you have to be familiar with terminology that applies to the payment function that's used by Microsoft Excel, and of course terminology that's used in the banking and finance industry. So some of the terms we have to be familiar with are PV, which is the present value. It's also known as the principal or the loan amount. Basically, it's how much you plan to borrow. Rate is referred to as the annual interest rate. It's also known as the annual percentage rate, APR. It's the yearly interest rate given by the bank. NPER, the number of periods. How many payments are you required to make on the loan? FV is future value, and it will tell you how much the investment is worth at the end when all of the payments have been made. And for a loan, it really should be zero. When you finish making all of your monthly payments on a loan, then you should have no balance left. FV is used as a function to help you determine how much money you're going to make on an investment as you're saving money as well. So we can look at that in a different video. And then type is a logical value that represents 1 when you're making payments at the beginning of a period, like at the beginning of a month, and 0 for payments made at the end of a period, let's say the end of the month. So our scenario is that we want to purchase a new Infiniti QX60 hybrid. The purchase price is $42,000, and I've saved $4,000 as a down payment. And the bank has quoted me a 4.25% APR for a 5-year auto loan. My payments are made at the end of the month. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to cell number M5, and I'm going to enter in the purchase amount of the vehicle, which is $42,000. And then the down payment is $4,000. So that means that the loan amount will be the difference between the purchase amount and the down payment. So I'm going to put a little formula in here to subtract the $4,000 from the $42,000, and it tells me that I'm trying to borrow $38,000. The annual interest rate given to me by the bank was 4.25%. But just remember that a percent is essentially a decimal, and so we're going to enter this in as 0.0425 rather than 4.25. And then our loan duration in years is 5 years for our auto loan. And so now we're going to figure out the monthly payment. The payment function is listed in a list of formulas, so we navigate to the formulas menu and look at the financial category, and then scroll down until we find the payment function. And you can see that the function has 5 different arguments, which we referred to at the beginning of this video. So the rate. You can even read the instructions. Rate is the interest rate per period. And what Excel cautions you to do is if you've been quoted a 6% like annual interest rate and you need to make payments on a quarterly basis, you need to divide your annual interest rate by 4. So this is important for us to remember because this is a car loan. And for our car loan, we were quoted an annual percentage rate or annual interest rate of 4.25%. But we want to make monthly payments. So that means we need to convert our annual interest rate to a monthly interest rate. So therefore, I'm going to, for my first argument, select the annual interest rate and then divide it by 12. And this converts it to a monthly interest rate. Then I go to the NPR field, and this is the total number of payments for the loan. So we have to think our way through this as well. We know that we're paying off our loan in 5 years, but that's not the total number of payments that we're going to make. We're going to make payments each month. So we want to take the 5 years that's represented in cell number M 9, and then we want to multiply that by 12. Now that tells us how many payments we're going to make. If we have to make monthly payments, 12 months in 1 year times 5 years, that returns, of course, 60, as you can see. And then the present value, PV, is how much our loan is worth right now. That means how much money are we borrowing, and of course that is the $38,000. It's not the $42,000 because remember we're making a down payment, so that reduces the amount of money that we're going to borrow. And then we look at the FV. This is not a required field for the payment function, but essentially it is the future value, cash balance you want to attain after the last payment is made. Well, of course, if we're paying off a loan after we make our last payment, we hope our loan balance is going to be 0. And so the assumption is that it would be 0 if you omit it. So we don't have to put a 0 in there. And then type is a logical value that represents whether you're making payments at the beginning of the period, beginning of the month as an example, you would put a 1 in. If you're making payments at the end of the period, you put a 0, or you can just omit it. The default is the 0, and our bank said that we would be making the payments at the end of the month, so we can leave that. We don't have to put the 0 in there since it's the default value or assumption. So now we can see right on the screen that it looks like we're going to come up with a $704.12 payment. And I'm going to click on OK. And we can see that when Excel returns the result of the payment function, it does so indicating that it's a negative amount of money. And of course, sometimes people are a little uncomfortable with that it's a negative amount of money. One way of thinking about it is if it's coming out of your paycheck each month, it certainly is subtracting from it. That is a negative amount of money coming out. But if you want it to appear as a positive value, you don't like seeing the negative value, then you can just reverse the sign. So basically I went up to the formula bar and I clicked right between the equal and the P in PMT and typed in a minus, and then that reverses the sign and it shows up as a positive value. And just to clean up a few things, I'm going to make sure that all of my currency has maybe the accounting format applied, and then for my annual interest rate I'll apply the percent, increase the decimal a couple of times so that they can see it's 4.25%, and of course we have our payment returns, the $704.12. If you're picky and you don't like the dollar signs appearing to the left of the cell here, then remember the other format that we can use is the currency format. And that lines up the dollar signs along with the numbers, and that matches a little more closely what we're seeing down here with the $704. So we know that if we want to buy this car, we want to borrow $38,000 at a 4.25% APR, pay off the loan in 5 years, our monthly payment will be $704.12.